Hey friends, it's Lauren. Thank you so much for joining me in my craft room today. I'm grateful to have you here. I'm going to be getting in the Halloween spirit as we're here at the end of the month of May, and I decided to do a box card this month. So I'm using some cardstock with my favorite things, Die-namics, the mini Slimline box card. You can see here all the different pieces that I use using the dies. I have the base as well as the Grassy and Snowdrift add-ons. And this month I'm using these adorable Kawaii Cuties from Stamp Anything. I have the little haunted house here and my Too Cute to Spook adorable characters. I really wanted to give you a close-up of these. I think they are so adorable and they're so easy to color because they're so tiny. But I have all of my characters colored. I was only going to do a few, but then I couldn't narrow down what I wanted to do, so I colored them all. I did stamp them with alcohol-friendly black ink and of course on my alcohol-friendly cardstock and colored them in with Oh Hoo Hoo art markers. But let's jump right into assembly mode. I'm going to be stamping my sentiment now. I do have a sentiment kind of stamped on my little sign from the stamped and colored images, but I also wanted to stamp something on the front of my box card, so I did Too Cute to Spook, which I think is perfect for these adorable little monsters. I'm just in love with these cute little guys. I have some green cardstock for my grassy parts and the sides of my box card, but I wanted to add a little bit of dimension and a little darkness to these green pieces. So I am first blending on some peeled paint, just using a little brush here and adding the color to the bottom of all of these green cardstock pieces to add some depth and shadow. And then I'm gonna not squeeze, but squish some ink using Forest Moss Distress Oxide, or no, just Distress ink. And I'm going to use that for splatter. So I sprayed some water and I have a paintbrush here and I'm just splattering it over all of these pieces. It'll dry back a little bit and it will look really nice. So I'm going to go ahead and set these aside to dry and then I'll clean up my glass mat. So now let's get to assembling. I'm going to start by adding the side pieces to my box card. I have a scoring tool here just to help reinforce the score lines on these pieces of cardstock. This is a really nice heavy cardstock from Your Paper Insider. This is their most recent box number 3 for spring 2023. There's some really nice jewel tone colors in this collection. I thought it would be really good to match, a darker, spookier Halloween card, even though it's not spooky. It's really cute. I am using some double-sided adhesive tape to add my adhesive on the flaps of these side pieces that will connect to the back piece. And then I'm going to use a little bit of wet glue just so it can give me a couple seconds to make sure I have it placed right where I need it to be placed on the back piece. I am gluing it towards the front side, so I'm not gluing these flaps around the back. They are on the front, and that will line up perfectly flush along the sides and bottom for both of those pieces. Before I get too far, I'm going to add my background in. I did use some double-sided adhesive for this piece as well, just completely covered the back and then pulled off the release paper, and I will glue that to the inside of my box card. I love the little stitching details on this piece, and there's some stitching details on the green kind of trapezoid pieces that will go on the sides. I'm going to start with adding the front, kind of what will close the box up onto my left flap, again using some double-sided adhesive and a little bit of wet glue. And I'm going to glue that to the left panel only at this time. I'm going to make sure I have all of my little shelf pieces placed inside before closing it up. So just following the same process, adding some double-sided adhesive to the left flap with a little bit of wet glue so it gives me a chance to make sure I have it placed exactly where I want it to the inside triangle side piece before it's super secure and I can't move it anymore without damage. So I have my back snowdrift, which in this case it's just a green hill. And then I have my two grassy pieces, and I went with the straight across kind of no hill grassy pieces for both of these two steps inside of or shelves inside of my box card, just because I'm going to have my little monster sitting on them, and I didn't want it to make it look too kind of wavy like the back hill. I wanted that grass to look like it was further away. So now I'm ready to close up my box. So I'm adding my double-sided adhesive to all of my little flaps. I did go ahead and add my wet glue to the most forward grassy piece because it overlaps a little bit with my red piece in the front to close up the box. So I needed to make sure that was going to be glued in place before closing it up. So I went ahead and folded over that flap to close up the box, and it will, connect and adhere to all of the little side pieces for my 3 green shelves that are inside of my card. Now that it is fully enclosed, I'm going to go ahead and add the 2 side pieces. Again, these are just kind of grassy extra details on the side. You could definitely cut these out of some fun pattern paper, anything you'd like. You don't even need to add them to the box card if you don't want to. I just wanted to extend my scene a little bit on the outside. And then I added my front panel with my Too Cute to Spook sentiment. So now that the box card is done, I'm going to give that glue some time to dry before I add all of my pieces on. So let's get to assembling my little haunted house. So I'm pulling out all the pieces that I need for the haunted house and my Halloween sign, and I'm going to just show you how I played around with the different pieces to build my house. And I really like that the house isn't spooky on its own, that you can add these kind of windows where the shutters are kind of fallen apart, but the door and the circular window, those aren't, haunted house looking. There's nothing special about those pieces. So you could also really easily turn this into a house that's not, boarded up and looks like the shutters are going to fall off. And they have cute little light lamps, for the outside next to the door. I originally did 2 because I was thinking I would have 2 on the house, but I ended up just really liking having just 1 by the door. Once I have all of the little images in place, I'm going to glue them down just using my jewel picker and some wet glue. I'm not going to show you the whole process here because you saw me putting it together. I'm literally just adding glue behind all of the images and then gluing them in place on the house, as well as my Happy Halloween sign. So after all those are glued down, we are going to move into adding them onto the box card. Now this is a mini slimline, so without the house, this slimline card fits very easily into like a coin envelope. But my house is very tall and I didn't want to hide it, so I will have to make a custom envelope for this card. So just keep that in mind if you're going to use this idea for inspiration for yourself. I die cut the fence out, but I wanted to fit all the way across the back side of my scene, but a lot of it would be covered behind the house. So I just went ahead and cut my fence in half so I could glue it, one side all the way to the left and then the other side all the way to the right. There will be a gap in the middle, but you won't see it because I'm going to add adhesive behind the bottom of my house and glue that to my little grassy hills in the back, which I realize now you can't really tell that they're hills because of the fence and the house. So I probably could have just gone with the straight, normal shelf that comes with the Die-namics set for the mini Slimline, but it's fine. I know it's there. I'm gluing my sign to my back grassy shelf here, and now I'm going to add in my star. So very similar to how I add jewels, just using my jewel picker to pick up the small stars, and then my wet glue to glue them down onto my blue sky background. Once those are all in place, that kind of finishes up the, main parts of my scene. So now it's time to add in my cute little monsters and little spooky characters. I wanted my ghost to look like it was coming out of the window of the haunted house. So I'm going to add some foam squares behind my ghost, and I'll peel off the release paper, and I'm going to put the ghost so it looks like it could be coming out of that bottom story window. I don't usually like to add foam adhesive to box cards because they're already so thick, but because it's further in the back, that thickness isn't really going to be, a big deal. It will still be thicker than those pieces on the back because of the layers of the shelves in front of it. So now I'm just gonna go through and add in the different critters or monsters. I have my vampire in the front. I decided to also pop up my little death guy. I just added some foam to where he will overlap on the fence. And then I realized that I forgot to add some white highlights to him. So did those real quick. I'm going to add my witch and my mummy to the bottom right in the front grassy part. And again, just adding glue to only where they will overlap onto the grassy shelf pieces inside of the box card, because otherwise if there's some glue there and I lay it flat, it can get stuck together and it won't pop up and be a cute little 3D scene anymore. I also have this little pumpkin guy, and I didn't originally plan to put him more towards the left because I didn't want it to block the Happy Halloween sign. As you can see, if you look at it straight on, you can't really read it, but since it is a 3D box card, it's definitely still really easy to see that it says Happy Halloween, so I just went ahead and glued him there. And then the final two are on the back, kind of squished in the middle there, so you can see them in between the mummy and the vampire. And that's my little devil and wolf man. So I tried to layer all of my monsters so you can still see them depending on how you're looking at the card. You can still see them all. Here's a final look at how it turned out. I think these little Kawaii Cuties are super adorable, and I link them down below from Stamp Anything if you want to check them out yourselves. I'm not an affiliate or a sponsor or anything. I just think they're really adorable. But I hope you enjoyed this Halloween process card just to bring you a little bit of fun inspiration. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!